all rise and shout. It's time for What's Trending. Yeah, that expression from Mark Pope pretty much sums it up. Hands on the head. Yikes. Incredible atmosphere last night at the Marriott Center. Big-time electricity, big-time shot making, and two teams going absolutely toe-to-toe in what is the final West Coast Conference showdown for Gonzaga and BYU at the Marriott Center. The Zags win 75-74 because it's what they do. They take it from you if you do not take it from them. Dave, as you look back at the game as a whole, what are the positives you're going to take away from a heartbreaking loss? And, of course, the negatives that always come with a setback.
Well, we feel negative because no one likes to lose. But over the scope of that night, it was so entertaining. And aren't we in this kind of to be entertained?
Absolutely.
There was a moment in that first half where the Zags are up 8, and you're thinking they're going to blow us out. Or a couple baskets from losing this altogether. And BYU climbs in it. Then with 6.5 minutes to go, BYU's ahead by 10. And then with 9 seconds to go, BYU has the ball with a chance to shoot and win the game. All of this over a 2-hour period on national TV. And from the entertaining side of it, what an awesome night. The ending was not great for the home team. But, man, for 2 hours, you're on the edge of your seat. Can you ask for anything more than that? Outside of a better finish and a precursor of what's to come in the Big 12. So you just sit there and kind of take it in and go, well, this was awesome. It was an awesome night with a bummer of a finish.
Yeah, it was fantastic for 39.5 minutes if you're a BYU fan, right?
Yeah, out of your mind type stuff.
And agonizing for Gonzaga fans for much of the second half, which is a position that they have been in over the last 3 games they have played, but they have won them all. They survived San Francisco, survived Santa Clara, and now the Zags have survived BYU. And once again, they're alone with St. Mary's clipping at their heels atop the West Coast Conference standings. So I'm with you. It's tough to be like, yeah, you know, I'm feeling good after that. No, because you see what could have been for BYU. We could have been here talking about, okay, BYU just beat Gonzaga, tack that on to wins against Creighton, Utah, and Dayton. Their resume is now getting to the bubbly part of the NCAA tournament.
Is 2 weeks away.
St. Mary's is coming to Provo. BYU has now won 9 of the last 10 games. It's just a totally different rhetoric because of 1 point and 1 shot, which it can drive you crazy for sure. But I did take a lot of positive from BYU's guard play being better. We asked for it yesterday. We said the guard play's got to be better. BYU's got to shoot the ball better. They made 13 3-pointers. BYU's got to take care of the ball better. We thought that they were doing that for about 38.5 minutes, and then it got dicey again in the last 90 seconds, which is where they have struggled. So while I loved what BYU did with the guard play and the shot making and big shot making from Gideon George and Spencer Johnson and Jackson Robinson, I mean, he took some deep threes and made those shots. And
place going bananas.
Well, it was crazy. It was incredible. One of those unforgettable nights outside of the result. So I liked what BYU's guards did a lot. And the three-point shooting was certainly an uptick, but I mean, my first negative is probably taking care of the ball in crunch time.
Throwing an inbounds pass.
Yeah.
And every one of those just feels like, and even the ones they got in was like, whew, you know, it's how routine is an inbounds pass. We see them working on it in practice. We know they do. But I think we're in the middle of a scientific case study of pressure and how to handle it and what pressure does to a team. And what a team with experience does when pressure comes, and what a team that doesn't have experience does when pressure comes. We've seen it a couple of times during the course of the season. The Creighton game was a big case study, but BYU was able to get a basket at the end. Like last night would have bailed them out of a major collapse with a shot at the end that they didn't get. But this case study we're seeing is interesting because you can't become an experienced team without going through experience. And a lot of us want this BYU team to come out and just be experienced. Be like Drew Timme, who's played in like 150 games. Why isn't he panicking at the end? Because he just doesn't.
They've been there so many times.
But he doesn't now. And I think back, driving in, I was thinking about it. Remember when Zach Wilson ran the ball to the end zone against Hawaii and did some helicopter jump, whatever, and fumbled?
Yeah.
We lost the game?
No end zone camera.
Did you notice he's never done that before or since? He hasn't done it since because he learned this is what can happen.
Tough lesson.
Ty Detmer threw 4 picks in the second half in his debut at Wyoming. And we're all ready to go. Is there another quarterback? Is there another quarterback? But they were allowed to develop and look what and there's a million case studies like that. BYU has got to be allowed the space to become experienced. And you only become experienced through highs and lows. Last night was a low, but next year when Kansas is here and Jacob Robinson's got the ball to throw it in with 30 seconds left, maybe he does it differently because of what he experienced last night. Or Dallin Hall, or Richie Saunders, or Noah Waterman, who've never been an experience in their life in the Marriott Center, sold out on ESPN against the 8th-ranked team in the country. So we expected them to act normal in an abnormal setting, which they have no experience to do.
Sure.
And I think that's kind of where our disappointment lies is, why weren't you better? Based on what?
Yeah. You just don't have very many close game experiences to draw from. Certainly not in that type of environment and not against the number 8 team in the country.
I mean, their peers at class were ready to storm the floor. You could feel the last 2 minutes, you're like,
BYU was up 7 with 3 minutes to go.
This. Please don't lose this. Somebody help us.
I know.
And then they lost it.
Here's what I hate about this. Jackson Robinson played, he's on pace to play his best game, right? Mm-hmm. And this is his breakthrough. He's at times struggled with his confidence and his shot. He found it last night, but he's going to relive again and again and again in his mind the last 2 minutes of that game. The inbounds pass, which gives up a 3, and then he has the opportunity to put BYU up 3 at the free throw line. And I loved what he did. You could read his lips on the broadcast.
So everybody get back.
He said, I got this. I got this. I love that mentality. And he makes the first. And I love that he was expecting to make the second. It was a little bit long. And then it's just chaos, right? Because you're under 20 seconds. You're up 2. But everyone's like thinking, you know, with hindsight, or 20/20 hindsight, well, the one thing you can't do is give up a 3. But what you don't realize is everything is happening so fast. You're not on the floor. Drew Timme comes down and sets kind of a soft screen. And so everyone's, you know, it's easy for me to say, well, the one thing you don't want to do is go underneath the screen. You don't want to let Gonzaga's best 3-point shooter have an open look. But I don't think anybody on the floor, including Gonzaga, thought that Julian Strother was going to take that shot.
Yeah.
And to his credit, he took it and he made it.
And that was Jackson's guy.
Yes. He's going to relive that. The turnover that results in a 3, the missed free throw, and then it's his man that hits the game-winning shot.
That's why I'm so interested to see how he responds against Pepperdine tomorrow night. Because Jackson Robinson, who went to Texas A&M, didn't play, went to Arkansas, a highly touted kid coming out of high school, didn't play much at Arkansas at all. He's played more at BYU than he's played since his senior year of high school, when he was a 4-star type guy. Jackson Robinson is a Big 12 type talent.
Yes.
As he develops. So after last night, today's a very important day in his world of basketball and practice. What he does tomorrow night and moving forward, he has an opportunity to say, I'm getting better. I'm getting more experienced. I'm going to be a guy you can count on in the Big 12. It's kind of teetering on, is he going to take that step or is he going to take a step back? We'll find out tomorrow night. I think tomorrow night's a very important game in his career.
As much as it hurts to lose this game as a team, there is a belief that BYU is close to a breakthrough. And everybody that I talked to last night on that roster said the same thing. Dallin Hall, Spencer Johnson, talked with Foose, talked with Gideon George. They were all absolutely deflated. But there's a common belief now. We're so close to the breakthrough. And they feel like they're continuing to get better. And I think it's obvious to see that this team is learning and growing, albeit it is super painful sometimes, and some lessons stink a lot worse than others.
And here comes one of the worst teams in the league, Saturday night.
Got to take care of business.
2 days after you played the best team in the league.
You got to take care of business.
So our second topic we want to think about today is, do you feel better or worse about the direction of BYU basketball after last night?
It hasn't been long enough for me to start to like turn the page and say, yeah, I feel better.
Sometimes therapy requires time.
Yes. Give me a couple of days. Give me BYU taking care of business against Pepperdine, and then maybe even going on the road in what is going to be a tricky road swing at San Francisco and at Santa Clara. That is super tough.
And then you're home for St. Mary's.
Yes.
I mean, the whole, how the WCC is going to go is riding on the next 4 games for BYU.
How does BYU respond? So if BYU can bounce back and look sharp against Pepperdine and then go on the road, win that Thursday game, then it's like, okay, they did learn some things from that Gonzaga scenario. BYU is getting better. The trajectory is continuing in the right direction, but it's too soon for me to say, like, yeah, I feel better about BYU basketball after losing again and seeing some of the same things that have really troubled BYU in previous games, which is turnovers in critical scenarios down the stretch and not being able to inbound the ball with full court pressure on.
Yeah.
Like, those things are still concerning. And frankly, free throw shooting, Dave, overall, not just Jackson Robinson's missed free throw in the late moments.
Yeah, we were 5 of 10 last night in a 1-point game.
Yeah, like, make one of those, right? Shoot 60% as a team from the free throw line, and now you're tied instead of down 1. I don't think it's too much to ask this BYU team with their shooters as a team to be 65%, even 70% or better from the free throw line. But 5 of 10 is not going to get it done. It doesn't just come down to Jackson's miss. There were several critical misses in the second half before that.
I think one thing I've noticed is that BYU plays better defense. They are a better defensive team this year than they were last year. For example, Gonzaga beat BYU by 33 last year on their home floor.
Sure.
Last night they beat them by 1. Is Gonzaga that far off from where they were last year? They were number 2 last year. They're number 8 this year in the polls. They're a different team for sure, but 32 points difference. BYU is playing better defense. Defense gives you a chance. The foundation of the defense they're playing, they can take to the Big 12. It's almost opposite of football. We go, okay, BYU's going to the Big 12. They got to score 50 points a game, which is probably true. But in basketball, it's BYU's got to play defense. Defense travels. If we've learned anything from San Diego State over the years, is that tough, hard-nosed defense and rebounding. And up until last night, BYU has been a really good rebounding team. It gives you a chance to be in the game with a chance to win the game. And then as you grow in experience, you start winning those kind of games. Defense last night held, I think Gonzaga shot, 34% in the second half?
Yeah, BYU for the game outshot Gonzaga, and that does not happen often.
No.
They outshot Gonzaga 46% to 44%. Those are approximate percentages.
And even Mark Few commented on BYU's defense after the game.
Yes.
Gave them all kinds of trouble.
Specifically in the second half. I'm not going to lie, I was a little concerned in the first half because Gonzaga, when they went on their few runs in the first half, they're having their way inside with BYU's bigs against the Tiki Aliatiki and Noah Waterman, just having their way. BYU did some things at halftime. They adjusted, and couple that with making three-point shots. Now BYU's up 10, and Gonzaga was rushing, and it was interesting to see the Zags in a unique position, right?
Yeah.
They were the ones that were flustered, and BYU did that. And so I agree with you. The defense, it's better. It's better. You combine that with shot making, and if you can just take care of the ball a little bit better, especially when full court pressure is applied, BYU's going to win a lot of games.
That's the ingredients to going to Spokane and beating him again up there. BYU's beat them 3 times as members of the WCC. That's the formula. Can they do it? You know what? We'll all be watching because they might.
And St. Mary's, as we said earlier, is coming to Provo, and the Gales might be better than Gonzaga.
They might be.
They might be.